All right. Okay. Hello out there. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. This is Aaron from Solace, coming at you live from Singapore. It is March 28th on a long weekend. Yeah, happy to be joining you. We are live on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Twitter. And if you're watching the replay of us, then thanks for joining and checking us out. So today's episode of the Office Hours, we're going to be talking a little bit about Mule and some of the integration work that we've been kind of playing around with. And to help me do most of the actual presentation of today's Office Hours, I'm going to be joined by my colleague, Jesse. Jesse, I'm going to bring you in. Hello. Hey, there we go. Hello.
Hey, good morning, Aaron. How are you, man?
Good morning. Good evening. Good evening. It is it's 11 p.m. here in Singapore, and tomorrow's a holiday. So why am I here in the office? To be
Good question.
Here with all
fantastic question.
To be here with everybody and to talk about this this cool stuff that we're working on. So Jesse, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody that's out there.
I'm Jesse Menning. I work in the CTO's office here at Solace with Aaron, and I love thinking about better ways to make Solace interact with other tools.
All right. Yeah, that's how it goes. Where are you joining us from, Jesse? Where are you based?
I am just outside Boston, in Hopkinton, Mass, which is the starting line of the Boston Marathon. So we live in a small town, and then once a year there's like media flying overhead. There's like bomb sniffing dogs. There's tens of thousands of runners, and then then they're gone the next day. So it's a cool transformation to see every year.
So we're at the end of March now. So what's the temperature like over there?
It's a really crappy day. It's about 40 degrees and raining right now.
Centigrade, that would be that's single digits, I guess. That's pretty chilly. That's like 5 or something.
It's not great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope you're bundled up warm. You got a light shirt on there, no sweaters or anything. So
anyway. I do, because we had the pre-show, and you asked, so are you going to be wearing that? I had sort of like a t-shirt on, and it was asked in the way that my wife asked me when we're going out to dinner, are you really going to be wearing that? So I caught the hint, Aaron. I was like, oh, I got to dress up for this. This is an important event. We're chilling, and so I hope this makes you.
You look great, man. We're very casual here. I've done office hours from back home in Canada in Vancouver, in Ottawa during the winter, and I'm wearing multiple sweaters. So you look comfortable, man. You look comfortable. Anyway. Thank you to everybody that's out there to join. I always like, we're doing this live. We're doing this as a global event, obviously. Say hello, put yourself in the chat. Tell us where you're joining us from. We got somebody from Singapore here. We got somebody from Boston, well, just outside Boston. And say hello. We're going to get going in just a second here. We have a few comments already here. So, oh, wow. Hello. We got some waves. Hey, we got some waves. Look at that. Excited for this one. Oh, we are. Oh, Mark's excited. All right. So, not able to see the video. We haven't heard that before. Showing error happen. Anybody have the same issues? Are you watching on LinkedIn? Are you watching on the Solace community? We're actually broadcasting live on Solace.community. We're broadcasting live on there as well. Hopefully you can figure out, or YouTube, go to YouTube. I mean, we're live on there. So Kitty, I hope you can figure out your connectivity issues there. Apologies for that. Hello to Mimi from Vancouver. Yes, there we go. Yes, Phil says you're nicely dressed. All right.
Thanks, Phil.
There we go. Yes. All right. The Netherlands. Excellent. Thanks, Carol. Good to have you here. Rajesh. Hello. Hi. We got New York City. Excellent. Where else? Wisconsin. I was born in Green Bay. I'm actually, my mom's from Wisconsin, and I guess therefore I'm a Packers fan. But I've never lived there, but I was born in Wisconsin. So yes, excellent, Wisconsin. Thank you for joining. That is awesome. Austin, Texas, London. I'm assuming London, England, and not London, Ontario, which is closer to where I'm from. But oh, we got a lot of people. Holy moly! All right, we got Paris. We got Portugal. Everybody's tuning in from everywhere. Not too many APAC people though. I just noticed. I guess everybody is out having a good time, except for me being in the office here. with everybody. So yeah, anyway,
everybody feels bad for you, Aaron. Everybody feels bad for you. We've established that you are working late on a holiday weekend.
I'll stop whining and moaning and everything like that. So, all right. And Belgium, excellent. Belgium, Lars, thank you. And hey, Nick, all right, from Atlanta, Georgia. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for the comments. We have, we're live, we're interactive. Jesse is going to tell us all about some of the stuff that we're working on. And we hope that you ask some questions. We are live, so yeah, please put your questions in the chat. We'll do our best to get them. Our colleague Mark is actually in the backstage, trying to keep an eye on things. So we might hear from him later on. But oh, there we go. I didn't even touch anything, and Mark's pushing buttons back there. So Jesse, do you have your slides queued up? Do you want to kind of get those shared, and I can add them to the stream here?
For sure. 1 second.
So yeah, if you're not already a member of the Solace community, that's what. So I'm a developer advocate at Solace. Our team, that's one of our big things, is like we help developers learn about Solace. We promote Solace. We do training. We do workshops, conferences, build demos, and yeah, we answer a lot of questions on the Solace community. So if you're not already on Solace community, head over to solace.community. Yeah, you can see the URL is down there. It's pretty straightforward. Go on there, sign up, and yeah, it's free. So yeah, please do that. All right, so Jesse, I'm going to go ahead and share your thing, and let's get things going here. All right.
Thing is shared. All right.
Here we go. All right, I can see your stuff. All right, here we go. So
sounds good.
Take it away, Jesse.
Cool. So just to sort of justify this, I love technology. I love talking about technology, but why should we care about this particular technology? And I think coming from an environment and a previous job where I was in the integration team, I was sort of day-to-day dealing with this kind of stuff. I saw firsthand that what we're experiencing was sort of an explosion of more. We saw more applications. We saw more clouds and places that information needed to go to. And we saw more sharing of data because that was just more important to our business lines. And there was expectations that information would go throughout the enterprise much more quickly. Whereas things used to be batch files, now they wanted things to be in real time. And all of
database centric, kind of like once a day kind of uploads.
Yeah, exactly. Or even freaking files, man.
Doesn't cut it. Oh yeah, file transfer. Yeah, well, yeah. There's still a lot of that out there. So
totally, yeah. So we were going sort of through this transformation, and that caused a lot of pressure. That's the best way I can put it. I just felt like the walls are sort of closing in, and there was all these things to sort of plug together. And this is back in the days of ESB, Enterprise Serial Bus, where we were the holdup. Everything depended on the integration team to do what was right.
By a holdup, do you mean like a bottleneck of some sort, or
yeah, because like if A had to be connected to A had to connect over to B. We were the people to do it, and if it didn't happen through us, then those people
plugging in wires
around the way.
And
yeah. Sort of like those old school like telephone operators, like connecting stuff.
That's right.
And so we saw, through ESBs, and even more so now, that application integration needs to evolve. And what does that look like? That looks like going from sort of very centralized and monolithic, where Jesse controls the universe, to something much more decentralized and modular. Something very tightly coupled, where people are talking directly to each other. Yeah, point to point.
Yeah.
To something that is much more loosely coupled. Things that can evolve organically on their own, but then obviously when they can communicate, but not in ways that they directly communicate. And like we just said, sort of moving from the big old file of everything that happened during the day being processed at the end of the night to something that happens immediately when something happens. Real time.
Well, it's like, I mean, a lot of that is just it's not just demands of like customers saying we want this. It's just like the technology is finally catching up with us. Databases, disks, networks were slow. Kind of databases were at the center of many architectures. It was kind of just like put everything in the database, and eventually we're just gonna compute what happened during the day, and here's your ledger for the day. But that's not good enough anymore, right? It's we require real time everything, essentially, well, as much as possible. So
yeah, I think there's been a co-evolution of business demands and also the technology and the approaches used to meet those demands.
Well, consumers are demanding more because as the technology evolves, they're like, hey, I can do this over here. Why can't I do that with my old enterprise stuff? And it's like, well, we have to modernize too. So
for sure, man. Yeah, and we're going to be talking about Solace is an event-driven platform. Event-driven integration is our sort of our thing. But I know a lot of people are coming from a Mule world or from other iPaaS world that are listening. So I figured we could probably do with just a real basic explanation of sort of what events are.
What events are, yeah.
The very core of what events and event-driven architecture are. So just to define things really quickly, what we call as a producer is essentially where an event happens. Where in your business, in this example, it's a point of sale system. And then at a producer point, something happens. And that's something typically that happens within your business. So a customer bought the last bag of coffee, or the airline took off, or the stock was sold. So something really typically tangible that happens within your business that's important both for that particular point of sale, but also sort of other people throughout your business. So if we take the coffee example, let's say we sold the last bag of coffee. We want to react to that, and we want to order more coffee, both through our vendor management system. We want to update our sales analytics because we want to forecast that, hey, we're really selling that coffee these days.
It's hot. It's hot.
It's hot coffee. Although these days, everybody drinks cold coffee around here,
That's
even
true.
in the dead of winter, which I don't understand. Why are you drinking really cold coffee?
Apologies. Yeah. We got cold and hot coffee here flying off the shelves. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So the logistics routing, you got to get some more of this coffee into the stores. You can sort of in real time route another truck over to that store and replace the coffee.
Right.
So those are called consumers, people who are potentially interested in this information and could act on it if we only have the ability to get that information to them, particularly in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And connecting that is what we call an event mesh. And something where we seamlessly route events to any number of components, no matter where they're deployed. The event mesh can be just in one single location, or it can spread across the world. It's this group of brokers connected to each other that automatically know, okay, these three people would probably really be interested in this information, and seamlessly route it to them so that then they can sort of do whatever they want with that information, including ignore it, but probably, dispatch a truck, get some more iced coffee out there for people, because for whatever reason, they are demanding it.
It's up to them if they want to ignore it, right? But I mean, we try to do this routing based on things that are most likely they're going to want to hear about.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely, yeah. You can't ignore iced coffee for some reason. So,
and this mesh of brokers, I mean, the event mesh, you could people kind of think of an event mesh as maybe some globally distributed system, but an event mesh can literally be a broker of one. You could have your event mesh being a single. You're just starting off. You're just building stuff slowly within your own region, within your own city, maybe, and all of your producers and consumers are on one broker. But the capabilities within that broker to allow it to scale horizontally, to cluster and to bridge across different geos, hybrid cloud or on-prem, and have it seamless from an application point of view. That's what gives you the capabilities of the event mesh. Is the apps don't really care where in the mesh they're connected to. They just know and trust that data events put in and received from the mesh are just going to get to them magically, essentially, somehow, right? They're just going to get routed no matter where they're running from. So,
you're really fantastic at that. You should do that in your day-to-day world, man.
I think I have a video maybe about that here. So
all right. Well, fantastic.
Before you switch that slide, I just want to I got a couple more shout outs here. People just joining. I want to say excellent. Hi. Giri from Bangalore. Hello. Yes, Tamimi. Yes, come. So one of our colleagues, Giri and Tamimi, both joining us. Come chat with us on Solace Community. New Hampshire. Hello, anonymous LinkedIn user. I hope you're having a good time there. Thanks for joining us. Carol had a thing to say.
Live free or die. That's the New Hampshire logo, actually. So they're living free, anonymous, and having a good time. I bet.
That's an aggressive slogan for New. I thought New Hampshire was more relaxed than that, but live free or die. That's pretty intense.
That's right. And good skiing. So
basically, if we looked at human interactions, that we interact with the world event based. Yes, Carol, 100%. When I do my trainings, when I do my developer workshops, I try to get people thinking. We as humans exist in an event-driven world. Our brains, our nervous systems, our entire we just respond to things, and we the alarm clock goes off and you hit it against the wall and go back to sleep. You know, the light turns green and you hit the gas. We're constantly just responding to events. We're not polling. The concept of polling is so, I don't want to say it's antiquated, but it's just a strange way of like kind of waiting for a stateful change of something. Like, just tell me when the thing has happened and I will then respond to it. That's just, in my opinion, a better way. So the tech did not reflect that at the time, sure, but since we had JMS, we could. Yeah, so JMS allows you to implement essentially the observer pattern, right? So like subject observer pattern, doing it kind of in a distributed way. We have producers and consumers. Events are the things that we want to listen on. So topics, that's how we're going to route those events. So yeah, and Tamimi's agreeing here. Yes, thanks, Tamimi. All right, and cool Dev Ninja. I prefer iced coffee. Well, there you go. Even in the winter, cool Dev Ninja, whoever you are, is preferring iced coffee. All right, sorry, Jesse, just a bit of admin. Let's keep going here.
Problem, man. Yeah, so we're not talking, and I want to be clear here, we're not talking about replacing traditional APIs. No. I think that what we're talking about is adding events to APIs. I think Aaron explained exactly why it's a really powerful pattern. But there's also more traditional use cases for APIs as well. So I think what we're talking about here, and sort of moving forward, is essentially asking for every business need, like what makes sense. Should we use a more sync API focused solution? Should we use an event focused solution, or should we sort of blend them together into the best of both worlds?
Blend.
Yeah. So
there's both are necessary. Both, like, you can argue that they're both required. So
yeah, and I think there's some specific use cases that would sort of move you towards one end of the spectrum. But if you're looking for really fast, real-time end user responsiveness, well, maybe events are your thing. Or less frustrating downtime, if you have something that's really gets a lot of traffic during one particular time or day of the year, maybe events would be good because we can buffer things out. If you're looking to constantly push things up or push out updates rather than polling constantly, like, hey, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? Like the toddler approach to things, maybe events are your thing. And if you need to spread information to a lot of different people almost simultaneously, kind of like in our bag of coffee example, iced coffee example, because events are naturally sort of one to N, distributed widely, that could be really helpful.
I would actually add maybe to this list. I mean, even constant push updates, not even constant, maybe just like you want an asynchronous notification of something, right?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
You don't want to sit there. This thing's going to be ready in half an hour. And so what, every 10 seconds, I'm polling the thing to find out if it's done. Like, that's just such a waste of resources. Just, send the notification, send the email, send the SMS. Just like, I mean, conceptually, we can think of just tell me when it's done. So kind of asynchronous notification of events just are, that just is an event-driven kind of mindset versus the request reply polling style of kind of interaction with your backend system or whatever it is, right? So
yeah, spot on. And in sort of contrast, like, when am I going to use a sync API? Well, there's request reply queries, like, give me information about this specific thing. And give me the current state of it, and I don't want to maintain that state locally. Like, I'm going to reach out and sort of query. That's fantastic. Sync API all the way. If you got something that needs to really have a complex process orchestration, where like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 need to occur in a very stepwise fashion, maybe look towards sync APIs.
Mm-hmm.
And then some providers, especially if you're using things like software as a service, they don't have an event API available. So of course you're going to use their sync-based API for that.
Like REST, everything in the world understands REST over HTTP. Like
exactly right.
Every firewall, every proxy, everything. I mean, WebSockets has now evolved to the point where we can do kind of bidirectional asynchronous communication across the internet very easily without using proprietary protocols. But REST is just easy. I just want to post something one time to this system. I don't have to stand up a persistent connection. You just go post and then it's there. Or if it's a kind of, you really need a response to something, an acknowledgement to something in real time, the request reply is good for that, right? So you say, I want to confirm 100% that this order is in the backend system, or some metadata is going to come back about it. So a request reply kind of style of interaction there is useful. But I think you're going to show this, but like, I mean, that of course could kick off a whole bunch of event interactions internally within the infrastructure. So
totally right. And I think that speaks to sort of the blended approach, right? Where you're not necessarily relying only on events or async APIs, or sorry, synchronous APIs. It's blended both. And I think, you know, the other great thing, sort of, we blend different, you know, events and synchronous APIs, but using an event-based approach allows you to blend different technologies as well. And we see Solace being used from connecting everything from sort of raw Java code to hardware IoT devices, all the way to sort of very managed solutions like an iPaaS. And I think that's because we have a commitment to both open standards and making event-driven integration work for a wide variety of technologies. Well, you see over on the left there, SAP, Boomi, like major partners of Solace. But we have lots of customers that have Mule and want Solace, or have Solace and want Mule. So it makes sense for us to have a really smooth experience for them as well. I will say that said, sort of previewing what we're going to show a little bit later in the demo, we're working actively with SAP, Boomi, to sort of enable the same kind of experience that you're going to see with MuleSoft with SAP and Boomi. Boomi just came out with some really fantastic capabilities that we're really looking forward to using to sort of enhance the experience between Solace and Boomi.
For the most part, like Solace has just been like a networking, a messaging technology, right? To move data around. It's that integration layer that, you know, we kind of just plug into whatever the customer is using. So, you know, if you're using technology X, yep, we can do that. You can either code to our APIs natively. You can use a standard JMS implementation or an AMQP interface, or even REST in Solace, and you can like plug and play, you know, Azure functions. You can drop in AWS. We can talk to GCP. We can talk to cloud native. You know, there's many ways that we can connect to other, you know, technologies via integration technologies. But yeah, like that's not necessarily where Solace plays. That's why we look to leverage, you know, and kind of adapt and integrate with all these different technologies.
Yeah, and then we've expanded even more so. Like you know, the runtime is fantastic. I think that we're very proud of the runtime broker, but I think we're thinking more globally in terms of an event platform. You know, what does it take to really design an event and govern an event and sort of move things along into production? And I think that's sort of, you know, the preview where we're going. That more expanded view of what's necessary to run event-driven integration beyond just the event broker, event mesh runtime. And I think that's where Solace really shines, is we have a complete story around that.
So I'm just going to throw up this comment from Tamimi here. Like, again, thanks to everybody for like your comments in the chat. We're happy to discuss them. One of the most common debates I have with people is it's not always REST versus events, you know. Putting them together brings out a lot of potential, and it's important to understand both. I fully agree. Jesse, I think, fully agrees. And yeah, that's what, and I think Gary, that's kind of funny. This picture, I guess the previous slide there hints at the integration of integrators. Well, you can think of us like Solace is just the network. That's the way I always try to get people to think about it. We're your network plus plus. We're your TCP network, TCP/IP network with additional capabilities like guaranteed messaging, redelivery, one-to-many, unicast, broadcast type capabilities, multi-protocol, you know, stateful connections. TCP, if you lose your connection, it's gone. But with Solace guaranteed messaging, you know, there's retransmits and all sorts of stuff. So we're your network. We're your network on steroids. And then you can plug and play your various integration technologies on top of us. And yeah, we just make it better, faster, and more resilient. So yeah, thanks. Thanks for that comment. All right. Sorry, Jesse, back to you.
Yeah, no problem, man. So I just so you know, and we'll sort of, you know, now narrow in on Mule, having talked about Boomi and SAP, and I think Aaron and I will probably be on soon with another more Boomi focused talk and SAP focused talk. But for Mule, let's just say we're not coming out of left field on this one. Mule knows about event-driven. We're not recreating or creating something totally new and different. Mule's on top of this. They see that EDIs are really important new technology as well. And I will say, like, and I think I'll skip past this pretty quickly because Aaron has landed on a lot of these. Beyond sort of the business use case where we want to have a better customer experience, there's a ton of technical reasons why you would move to an event-driven architecture or a blended architecture. And those are listed there as well.
Decentralizing is kind of the main thing, right? Kind of moving your connectivity, your integration towards the edge if possible.
Totally. And I think the slide speaks to it as well. So, we sort of vaguely have talked about event-driven integration as like, you should do event-driven integration as a concept. And, there's events and they're really great. But how would you, taking one step down, how would you actually make this work? So we talked about what an event is previously. We call it like a business moment, like the iced coffee example. Yep. We buy the last iced coffee. And what we see is a connection to the mesh. And so those inbound, what we call micro integrations, take the information from, say, Salesforce, apropos, because MuleSoft is part of Salesforce, and uses the connection from Salesforce, and then sort of typically transform that information, enrich it, maybe do a database lookup. There's often just a transformation from, say, XML to JSON or something like that. Mm-hmm. Make it more general use than something that is very specific to Salesforce. And then we put it on the event mesh, and the event mesh handles all of the routing and where does this need to go, who's interested in this information, and that happens very fast. Our heritage is within stock, is from stock market exchanges, so it's all meant to be very fast, very, very reliable. And then on the outbound side, and I think this goes actually to Gary's comment about the integrator of integrators, we can also have outbound micro integrations that take that event off the event mesh and sort of do the reverse. We take it off the event mesh, we transform it into something that's very specific for a particular application. Maybe we're going from JSON to XML now, or we need to enhance it so that ServiceNow can understand the context behind this particular event. And you can see here, that outbound micro integration could be any number of different technologies, which may be very, very different from the inbound micro integration. And Aaron was talking earlier about sort of the decoupling nature. And this is like the prime example of it. So whatever technology you have, and a lot of companies have multiple technologies, the mesh, because it sort of decouples them, allows you to play with the best of breeds, and even sort of adopt. If you have a company that you acquire that's using MuleSoft, why don't we just use MuleSoft? If you have another company that or part of your company that uses Booming, use Booming. So you get sort of the best of both worlds and are pretty adaptable and flexible as well.
So are we recommending that like there's a canonical kind of data format on the mesh that allows this kind of one-to-many kind of style of transform? I mean, I assume we would have some kind of centralized repository that kind of try and keep track of the data on the mesh we know is in some particular format. So data coming in, data coming out, we know how to translate in and out, I guess, from these different, we want to make sure that data coming in is looking a certain way so that we know how to make it kind of go out again, right? So.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, and we'll speak very much in depth with what we call Event Portal, which handles the management aspect of things as well. And so that's a key thing. Canonical, that's like the third rail of event-driven integration.
Next.
I don't want to say that we recommend it. That's certainly one thing that many people have done. But there's other techniques as well. So I think I'll leave that.
There's no one right answer. That's
there's no one right answer. But people have a lot of opinions. I'll say that much.
I hope I didn't put you on the spot.
That's like an hour and a half. No, you didn't put me on the spot, but that's like an hour and a half, and then like we end up arguing, and then I don't know. We don't want to. talk about
You know,
that.
looking at this picture, it actually makes me think maybe Solace is the connector of connectors and not maybe the integrator of integrators. You know, like we're connecting up these things with our networking capability. But
it doesn't have to. Like if you're solely MuleSoft or solely SAP, how about it?
So as a software developer, I would also say, you don't just have to use obviously integrators and connectors to kind of pull data off the mesh. You can, use a JMS API, a JavaScript API using WebSockets and like subscribe to this data raw and pull it off the net, pull it off the event mesh and populate, dashboards in real time or stick it in Grafana or, have a file adapter and it's like, just dumping it to a disk somewhere. So go back to that picture for a second. Like, I mean, you could be building all sorts of integrations that is listing, this one coffee low event that could be flashing all across your event mesh to all sorts of various applications and dashboards and analytics and all sorts of things, right? Not just kind of through connectors and off the shelf kind of integrations.
Totally right. And that's the beauty of it.
I have there is a question. I'm just going to scroll back here a little bit from our anonymous friend from New Hampshire, I'm guessing. How is your experience with Asapio? So talking about SAP, Asapio is a SAP partner and they do kind of a lot of SAP integration stuff. And I think we've worked with them before to provide event-driven dynamic eventing from the SAP ecosystem out onto the advanced event mesh, onto the Solace event mesh. Constructing our dynamic topics, our multi-hierarchical, multi-level topics from the payload. I personally have never used it, so I can't speak to my experience. Jesse, I don't know if you've ever actually used it yourself, but I know that we have customers that have, and there is a precedent out there for Solace and Asapio kind of in the SAP space. So
I think it's great. I think the big leap forward is now Asapio outputs an async API, which is a standardized way of describing events and what they look like and what their topics are. And so I think this plays into the broader story of, it's great to have Asapio. It's a fantastic technology, but making it so those events are then more easily usable, whether it be a micro integration or some other technology like you're talking about. I do feel like what's holding event-based architecture back, and this sort of is, I'll switch to the next slide because I think this talks well to it, is that especially in the past, people have a tendency to use what's familiar. And we were talking about REST APIs. They're kind of the chicken nuggets of the integration landscape. Like, they're easy, they're probably going to work okay. It's not the most thrilling thing. It may not even be the best thing on the menu, but if you're going to order if you do a chicken nugget, you're probably not going to get in trouble. And I think that's kind of the reasoning why REST APIs are so dominant. They typically have processes around it.
They're easy. They're
easy.
The tooling's there. They've been around for a long time, and it's pretty straightforward. It's
Post, but
that's it's easy.
Exactly right. But I think what's evolving, and I think async API, talking to the Asapio, moving from doing the stuff at runtime, which is fantastic, to providing async API, which describes those, and those then can be used in more of a design time or code generation aspect. I think that's the next evolution, both for Asapio and for the sort of the event-based world more generally. And in fact, this is what the entire talk is about here today, is moving towards that sort of model for Mule in this case. So, how do we make, this moving back very quickly to this, if we're going to use this sort of micro integration technique of using Mule in this new and different kind of way to create these micro integrations married with the event mesh, well, we better make that really easy and natural and clean for developers, or they're just going to default right back to REST. And so that's sort of where we're driving towards with the MuleSoft integration that we're going to talk about today.
Right.
So that actually leads really well into this. So
perfect.
What I like about is Mule is that they've got this cycle, the API-led integration lifecycle, and Boomi
very well
and SAP.
defined, well understood. Yep.
Yeah, it's got.
I hope everybody on the call everybody's seen this picture before. I'm pretty sure here. So
it's got a lot of circles in it. It's light blue. It looks kind of pretty. Boomi and SAP and everybody has sort of their own life cycle stuff. Also colorful and pretty. I don't want to say that Mule's the only colorful and pretty life cycle diagram, but I think what's really nice about Mule is, in addition to having the blue circles, they also have tooling that backs up every stage along that life cycle. So in other words, you think to yourself, all right, I'm a developer, I'm in this stage, what do I do now? Oh, I got a tool for that, and I know exactly what to do. We have this sort of nice little mapping between, okay, I'm in the design stage of things, I'm going to use the API designer. Oh, I'm going to publish it, I need to grab that from Exchange. Nice work, like it. The goal here is to take the blue circle lifecycle diagram and create a parallel one for event-led applications. In other words, each step along this process, have a tool that works really well, hopefully looks an awful lot like what people are used to with APIs, and just make it work so that we can sort of eliminate the barrier to entry for developers to start using events in a really, really smart kind of way.
Provide them with a well understood kind of process to just kind of transition from, it's not that difficult to, switch from kind of like a RESTful request reply type of way of integration to using events, right? So
exactly right. And then of course, this is the sort of the design promotion process, and then have that undergirded, I think that's the word, undergirded by the Solace event broker, which is like just industrial strength eventing. So you have this sort of smooth process when you're getting stuff into production, and once it's there, it's kind of rock solid. You don't have to think about it. You're not being interrupted at your barbecue on the long holiday weekend. Which is it a long holiday weekend? I forget. Is it a long holiday weekend for you?
Not for me, but for some people, yeah.
Oh, got it. Yeah, because you're stuck working. Forgot about that. So, yeah, that's the goal, is to marry a lot of cool things together.
So I'm just gonna. That's a great to just pause there for a second. We did have a good question here about our integration of integrators. How does Solace increase the performance and reliability of integrators like Boomi and Mule and SAP, I guess? So if I could kind of just lead off from what you were saying before, is like Solace, the event broker, which has been our bread and butter for the last like 20 or so years. That is what we have been building, a rock solid event-driven distributed architecture, hardware brokers originally, software brokers now. We're in every major cloud. Most of these iPaaS have event broker type capabilities embedded within them. Anypoint MQ. I believe Boomi has their atoms. I don't know the real name of them, but they have capabilities to do kind of like basic publish subscribe within their platforms. But
Boomi event streams.
Event streams. Okay. So I would argue that, they are to just provide a routing function to the main bread and butter of, Boomi or Mule or whatever, which is around the iPaaS thing. Solace has been focused specifically on that event routing capability. And we have built like a rock solid, high performance, very reliable platform coming out of capital markets, as Jesse was saying. And so I think we are just like a bigger engine, a faster car to underpin that capability. So we just make the technology, the data move faster, move better, more reliably, more stability. SAP, like underpinning the SAP Advanced Event Mesh, is Solace technology. So, how do we increase the performance and reliability? Just by using the Solace broker, and we can come over to the Solace community and ask us there. We can go like into to details. We can provide you lots of links. Obviously, our office hours is not super long, but that's what I would say. I mean, Jesse, do you have anything to add to that besides just we make the data move more reliably, more I don't know, just better?
Yeah, I think that there's a host. It sort of depends on what you're comparing it to, and if we want to do a deep dive on that, I think that's probably a discussion for another time. But I think you've hit it spot on. So there's sort of like the runtime part of things, but also the platform vision of Solace as well, which I would love to show actually right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's like we got a few other questions here.
Sweet.
This one I think we might have to park for a bit. How does Solace solve aggregating the events from multiple sources? That's one of the key challenges of EDA. As Solace, again, Solace from a broker technology, we're just moving the data around, but Solace from the platform, the event portal, helping to kind of document and design these applications. It's where we would use something like an iPaaS to be an aggregator, to be a collector of an orchestrator, a choreographer, if you will, of events that come in and then perhaps produce some kind of meta, combined type event. I don't know if Solace would solve aggregating the events directly or specifically, but I don't know.
That's a hard question. I'm glad you took it, but that's what I would say as well. That this is in the same spirit of like, some things are really, really great to be handled by the event mesh and event driven. Some things are really great to be handled by iPaaSes, and I think we listed a lot of them, and this is another one.
This is something that would happen at the application layer. This is a business level kind of like concept where you would need to take in multiple events, figure out how to like squash them or merge them, or kind of wait for, it's almost like a threading kind of operation, and then produce something on the outside. That's not a Solace. Again, think of Solace as your network. It's not a Solace specific transport thing. It would be some kind of like microservice. It would be some kind of integration component that would wait for these multiple events and then emit some third thing. So we don't solve it. We might be able to help it, but we don't solve that specifically. That's my random answer here. So one quick question: is Event Portal capable of provisioning Solace topics based on async API spec? I think Jose, thanks for the question. I think you'll kind of get most of an answer here in a minute, but the very short answer is in Solace you don't provision topics. That's the kind of really cool thing about it. Topics are entirely dynamic based on the publisher. However, the event portal provides a structure and a schema for your topics to be built based on events, based on async API. So Jesse's probably going to show us in just a minute as soon as I stop clicking on comments here. And I see that Mark.
I will slightly disagree with you. You're absolutely right about Solace topics themselves not being provisioned, but maybe to Jose's point, queues are definitely provisioned. Sure. And that is actually part of the demo here about sort of the life cycle behind provisioning ACLs and provisioning topics and provisioning subscriptions. So yes, it is.
Yes, I tend to think of things in a very Solace kind of vision, but like a lot of people understand JMS messaging where topics and queues are very similar. And but you're right. Yeah, we do automatically provision routing infrastructure subscriptions on those queues automatically based on our async API. So there's lots of questions here. I will try to get to them at the end. Sorry, everybody, but I've never had this many questions in an office hours. Jesse, you're so popular. But I want to get
I'm well dressed, man. Thanks to you. So that's
I think we're at the end of the slides, right? So is it time for the live show? We're gonna do a live demo here.
Yeah. I pulled it up. I didn't represent my screen.
You stop sharing. I can't we're just two guys sitting here with no screen here. Thanks, Mark. I see you jumping in there. Tamimi as well. Carol. I will try to get through all these towards the end, but I do want to make sure that Jesse gets his time to shine here. We're gonna look
exactly.
We're gonna look at some event portal, and we're gonna look at some Mule, and we're gonna talk about all the cool things that we can do with this part of this mashup. So
yeah. So I should not start on the screen. I'll start over here. So the nice thing about PubSub Plus Cloud, which is our platform offering, is that we give you the components you need, all the components you need to have a true event-driven integration lifecycle, like the green circles we showed earlier. And so you sign up for Solace, you get this, and I will say, I'll give you a pitch here that you free trial, go out there now and sign up if you don't have access to Solace through your work and play around with it. And so I think part of this huge vision is, and to allude to Aaron's point earlier, if you got this event mesh, but you don't really understand who's connecting where and what the information looks like, you're losing a lot of the benefits of having event-driven architecture. So this product that we call Event Portal aims to avoid that.
We've been a broker company for a long time, and providing that kind of insight into what data is going where, who is speaking what schemas and topics, and what data is going across it, and how do I document that? That's exactly what
it can be a nightmare. In the same way that an API-led strategy sort of falls apart if you're not reusing objects, if you're not well documented. And so PubSub Plus and also, frankly, is pretty cool. Because events essentially can serve as parts and pieces. Existing events can be reformulated, remixed into new functionality. And the designer is actually kind of where you do that. So we'll dive in here. And typically what we do is divide up functionality by business domain. And so let's say that I work for the fulfillment team, and I'm sort of the order details application. Back to our iced coffee example, crap, somebody's bought the last iced coffee. And these are all pre-formatted because I knew I'd be running out of time because I figured we have a lot of questions. So we'll just dive in here, and we have a list of existing applications. But you can imagine if you were a developer and saying, oh, I needed this new functionality like analytics, or we have new mobile application. You can actually very easily create an application based on existing events. And we'll go into the order details service. And here is where we can check out the interface for this particular application. So what sort of events come into this application and what events go out of this application. We call it publish and subscribe. And then to Jose's point, we also wanted to define a consumer. And the consumer is the sort of physical connection to the event mesh where these messages will be delivered. And this is the raw information typically that a developer needs to create either an integration within MuleSoft or SAP or Boomi, or actually the application itself. And the realization of that, we're building up. We have the description of this. We know what's coming in. We know what's coming out of the application, and we know exactly where to get it off the event mesh. All of that gets translated into async API.
Yeah.
And speaking earlier about what's been missing, what's been the problem. I think it's been a problem of tooling like Event Portal and standards like async API. And now we're finally starting to close the gap where we can get really, really nice tooling and get it going here. So in the Event Portal, this is where we design the applications and also sort of track them as they move through different environments. And we'll see that a little bit more later.
Having a standard like async API has certainly helped kind of provide this. I mean, just like REST, Open API, these are all standards now. PubSub has existed for 30 years, right? Go all the way back to like TIBCO RV or these other technologies. I mean, but they've been very siloed, very kind of proprietary. And
absolutely,
thank goodness as the broader world is waking up to like event-driven architectures and publish subscribe as a paradigm that is just required for kind of a real-time business. These things are finally getting solidified into specs and shareable, standards that we can now build tooling like this thing here. So,
totally. And this is, if you can think about it, a little bit more of an architectural view, right? Like if I'm the person designing this probably has a more high-level view of your entire enterprise. Think, okay, this is the functionality that we need, and these are the events that we would need to, what goes where, and like, oh, how are we going to create standardized schemas? So we typically think of Event Portal. Certainly can be used by developers directly, but it's more of an architectural tool in the same way that sort of an API designer would be. A tool like that would be used as well. So the question then becomes, well, we've got this great interface. We can either download it to async API, and that can be used by a variety of different code generators. But it would be awesome if we could keep developers in their tool set. They know, they love, they've been doing async or more traditional API-led integration for a long time. How can we make this simple?
Not another tool, right? Like
not another tool.
I don't want to have to log into yet another portal. I got my IDE. I might have Postman for doing request reply stuff, but I would rather stay in my IDE if I could help it. So what can I do? Well,
what I did was I said, Aaron, you're going to kill me, but I want you to learn 1990 technology, Eclipse technology. Aaron, very humble dude, but he was the guy who actually thought, well, let's create, because Anypoint Studio, which is the Mule IDE, is actually just Eclipse. It's very, it's a special plugin.
The older version, the new version's all very.
Not even new Eclipse, old Eclipse. So I was like,
I love Eclipse. I still code Java in Eclipse, everybody. So if you have a problem with that, too bad. I don't like IntelliJ. Sorry. But
it's going to look really good. It's going to look really good on your resume that you are very familiar with 1990s technology.
I'm old. Anyway,
you're not that old. All right. So, but Aaron, this is, I think really, really cool stuff. So essentially what we'll do is we'll press play here.
We're in Mule. Yep.
We're in Mule.
A bunch of stuff. Yep.
And what we've done is actually brought in just the information that you need from Event Portal into Anypoint Studio itself. So all of these different domains that we saw here in Event Portal are now replicated within the Event Studio space. And I should say the Anypoint Studio space. And I should say that I'm a super user because I'm a super guy. I can see all the domains. But if you were, say, only part of the fulfillment team, we would only give you access to the fulfillment team's work. There's very, very nice role-based access control within Event Portal that sort of keeps events and interfaces within a particular team.
So the way all of this is working, just to be clear, is that the Event Portal, I mean, besides being a sweet GUI and like a SaaS that's always on, we have provided complete RESTful, using REST, using RESTful over HTTP API to do basically anything. Anything that you can click on and do inside the Event Portal SaaS is available to do programmatically via the API. And so that's what I basically took, is I took our Event Portal API, built a Java wrapper, and then built this very kind of, just this view of the data that what Jesse was just looking at in the Event Portal. It's exactly the same, replicated, but now here directly in Mule Anypoint Studio.
And also, I would say that is exactly how you interact with Event Portal. But this is the clicking.
You have a touch screen. Yeah, it's easy. People on Macs don't have touch screens, so I don't know.
All right, so and this is all well and good, but what do you do with this? And we talked with people, MuleSoft users, who are like active Event Portal users. They were like, okay, we define the interface, and then we just cut and paste everything into a new Mule flow.
I got my pub, I got my sub. I've designed it in the portal. Now what can I do with that?
Yeah. So this is the cool new way to go here, and you can right click on any version here and click on Build New Mule Flow Project. We're right off to the hard drive, so it's nice and safe for you if you ever want to do it. But also it provides you the exact path within the clipboard. So all you got to do is click on Finish. So what we're bringing in, and it'll take 2 seconds, is essentially in the same way the API kit, if you're a Mule user, takes an API, a more traditional API, and creates a scaffolded flow for you. This is doing the same thing for an async API. We'll click on it up here. And you can see, because we defined a queue within Event Portal, which now Event Portal knows and has some really nice functionality there that I'll show later, we've actually created a counterpart queue listener within our MuleSoft flow. And because we know that that incoming event is a JSON message, we've added a validate JSON schema that's linked right into the proper schema here within the MuleSoft flow. We got a lot of questions at Solace about, like, well, how do we know that the data coming in and coming out is good data? Well, this gives you a really great way to do that. Likely, like I said previously, you probably want to transform this. Aaron mentioned the third rail of canonical data format or domain-driven data format. We'll skip it there, but you probably want to transform it into something somehow. So this provides you sort of a stub for creating that transformation.
Maybe. I honestly believe that if we lived in a Star Wars type universe where everybody spoke whatever language they wanted, but you could understand anything, then you wouldn't need a canonical data format, right? As long as you can understand other people, you can speak whatever language you want. Everybody speaks in their own language in Star Wars.
Aaron, if you say canonical data format one more time, I'm gonna cut your mic off. No, done. We're done. So there's a transformation of some sort that happens, minus Esperanto being real and live. So, and the other thing that goes out that occurs, and we have a lot of demand for, it's similar to Asapio sort of mapping different payload fields into topics. That's a huge benefit of Solace, is to take fields from the payload and put it up into the topic. And so what we've done here, sort of matching the topic that we've defined, the dynamic topic that we've defined within Event Portal, we have spots to grab each of the parameters that we need to form the topic. So in other words, region ID, where is this message coming from? We've got a spot here that automatically sets a parameter to the region ID. All you got to do is point it to an XPath. Same thing for order ID. Awesome functionality, especially if you're doing more request reply kind of things. Then on the outbound side, we validate the JSON schema and then we publish it and sort of sew together the different parameters we've created and push it out the door back to Solace potentially. Great stuff.
We have a lot of comments and questions, Jesse. People are quite impressed with with this stuff, with this auto generation. One here, Cool Dev Ninja, interesting project generation. Curious to know, why can't we do this with Kafka? Well,
you absolutely can. We've had talks about expanding this functionality out to Kafka. Obviously, we're Solace, so we're interested first and foremost in Solace Broker. And the other reply I would have to that is, the code is or will be open source, and so if you want to expand it out, I think that's a really, really interesting conversation for us to have.
I would add to that, though, that we're, even though we are Solace and we are interested in Solace brokers as transport technologies, our event portal has a ton of features around Kafka and Kafka clusters and, kind of scanning, auditing real-time Kafka infrastructure. So, yes, it's possible that we could do this with Kafka. Kafka and Solace are similar but different. And again, come into Solace community if you want to get into the kind of the discussion of like who was better where and why. But we're an equal opportunity event portal type company. So we'll eventually, I'm sure somebody will eventually make a Kafka interface. I got quite a few questions here. I don't think I have time to show them all. If we rephrase, is Solace Event Portal capable of provisioning ACL entries for topic publishing? I don't believe yet. I think that's something that we've talked about, though, right?
That happened this week, actually. Yes. Oh, it provisions ACLs for both queue access and for topic.
Yeah. For those who don't know exactly what ACL's access control list in the Solace ecosystem for message brokers, a publisher, every client that connects has an ACL profile associated with it that determines what you can and cannot publish on and or subscribe to. They can either be kind of allow lists or deny lists. And in a totally safe lockdown world, you would basically say deny everything except for these very few specific topics or queues or whatever that you're allowed to connect to or publish on. So integrating that with Event Portal is I didn't know that. That's good news. It happened this week. So
and since we're getting so many questions about provisioning, I do think that's a really great part of this whole story. Let me push on just a little bit. I know we're over time. I don't know what are the rules here?
There's no rules. I actually did an hour 45 one time, Jesse, accidentally. And that was with Ed Fonacutter, and God bless him, he didn't cut me off, or he looked a little bored, but I made a mistake and I went way too long. So no, do what you have to do. I know that there's a little bit more to this demo, I believe, before.
Well, yeah, that's like, because I think that the demo hits on a lot of the different questions.
So we've seen the event portal. We've seen Solace event portal with a sample domain. You have a couple different applications. We've pulled that data into and visualized it in Anypoint. We've been able to. Oh, let me reshare your thing here.
Yeah.
And so now what? Now what? We've built an app, or what? Where are we at now? Let me move this comment here. So.
Yeah. So at this point of the story, typically what you want to do is essentially commit it to GitHub, and then GitHub would handle your deployments for you. And then a big part of, since you're using event-driven integration, is to make sure that the event infrastructure, the event mesh is in the right place. And I think that's, we're talking about ACLs, talking about queues and topics and all that.
The subscriptions on them. Yep.
Yeah.
Making sure all the infrastructure is there. Yep.
All of that needs to be happening in lockstep as you move across environments with a Mule flow or whatever you've designed within Event Portal. And I think this is where Event Portal is sort of coming into its own, right? Like previously, it was a great modeling tool, and the async API has a lot of value on its own. But now we're coming along with sort of like the code generation piece. MuleSoft with SAP, with Boomi, how do we create actual implementations from this and make it easy? And I think the final piece of that is, well, how do we connect in our models into infrastructure and then make those real ACLs, make it real topics, make it real queues? Like that completes the value essentially for Event Portal and makes it, I think, it's sort of indispensable.
It makes your loop go back to the you gotta.
There's just like loops everywhere, and they're green and they're connected anyway. So let's say that we're done with our implementation for the order detail service.
Mm-hmm.
Testing and dev works great, fantastic. What we want to do now, and you can see, because we're tracking everything within Event Portal, we know exactly where it's at. We've got environments defined, we've got a dev, we've got a prod, because I'm only allowed to have 2 brokers, otherwise I get pinged that I'm using too many cloud resources. You probably got the same email, Aaron. So I've only got 2, but you can be able to support 1 billion if you want.
Yes.
Just don't run afoul of the money people.
Dev, test,
so what
prod, DR, you name it. You can,
exactly. Gold, whatever. So anyway, and you can see that we're all versioned here. So there could be multiple different versions and multiple different environments, all the complexity that you can imagine. What we want to do here is click on Manage Runtime Environments. And I should say previously that we've defined actual Solace brokers. And I should probably show it to you. These are my two brokers.
So this is the runtime. This is like
the runtime. These are the actual brokers.
Yeah. So Event Portal is all the design. This is the runtime, and now we're gonna almost kind of show how they.
Yeah, it's meshing. It's combining together. I'm so glad that you're here, man, because you have very good hand motions, and you like.
You got to do that when you're. You gotta, when you're on the live stream.
I'm with you. So we'll go over to manage. Because why would you believe me that this is actually working? And it may not, because it's like it's a
so this is the broker manager. We're looking at the actual queues on this broker right now.
The actual queues on the actual broker right now. Now let's say that we're promoting this through different environments. Now I'll say here that typically this will be a CI/CD process. And like Aaron said, everything I'm doing here this is the thing for clicking. Everything I'm clicking on can be done through an API as well. But this is nicer.
Shout out to our colleague Tamimi, who's back there listening, who's built actually quite a bit.
Always a shout out.
So again, if you want to hear all about or see some cool stuff around CI/CD, like automatic deployments and things like that based on async API, come find us on Solace Community. Tag Tamimi at Tamimi, and he'll tell you about it. So we're just All right, there's so much to show. We don't have time to. I'm like, just come find us on the community.
I know. It's almost like we shouldn't have talked about iced coffee for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
maybe we should have skipped that.
Or IDEs or canonical.
So, you said it. All right. So anyway, what we want to do, and again, this could all happen by API, and typically you would want to, but here we can actually add the application to this particular environment, this particular event mesh, and you can even target it to one particular message broker. So we click on add application.
You're back in the portal now. You're back in the portal.
I'm back in the portal. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. This is, what's driving this is event portal. And you typically would want to provide credentials to someone. So I'll just put Jesse.
Yeah, it's just basic username. So this could be like OAuth or
totally could be. But this is this is a demo time here. So we'll save the credentials. We'll need to provide those in an offline fashion to people just for security purposes. Save the credentials and continue. And what we'll see here is that we're adding in the ACL profile, and also we're creating the queue that we needed. And that aligns exactly with the MuleSoft flow that MuleSoft process. Sorry, I get caught up between the different iPasses that we created earlier. And adding a very specific version. Previous versions may have had different queue names or different topics to publish on.
If 1.1.1 was still in draft, would you be allowed to release it, or like does it have to be released, or like are there checks for that kind of thing? If it's not obvious to everybody, I actually haven't seen this part of the demo yet, so I'm actually
there you go, man. Here. So the sort of rule checking on the event portal side is not there, and sort of intentionally not there, because so many people, like I said, would drive this through something like GitHub, and that is sort of where you typically would have like your synchronous APIs being promoted, and your Java implementation, and your code promotion of the more event-driven things. And so you would typically have something that would check across all those things to make sure that they're released and have it all isolated.
Again, using our API, I've written little tools, little scrapers that basically just go across like everything within an organization and look, is a released thing using a deprecated thing? Is a deprecated thing using a retired thing? You can like build metrics, audits, all sorts of stuff quite easily, because it's so programmatically accessible. You don't have to click through the portal as a human person.
I feel like I've lingered here long enough.
Sorry.
Frankly, I'm a little nervous as this
Add it. Yes. Sorry.
Not because it's not unreliable, but because live demos. That's how it works. So I'll click on add.
Live demos never work perfectly, Jesse. That's just
of course not. We moved to status configured, and then it was very fast. So if you didn't see it, no problem there. But essentially what happened is that it in the background looked, and we had the little preview there, and then when I calculated again, what do I have to do to make this deployment happen? And then we go over to queues, the truth, and we've got the queue that we need.
There it is.
And along with it is, I'm diving in here.
The subs on it. Yep.
Exactly, the subscription.
Acme Retail. Yep.
So that, if you can imagine, sort of completes the circle. And again, if I'm a DevOps guy, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, now I get it, and I'm going to throw these APIs in with the with my GitHub action. And again, sort of, if we loop all the way back to the first part of the talk that we had, that pressure of like, frick, I have 30 queues to create, and people want them across 10 different environments, and like, is that going to screw things up because it's there's going to be conflicts there, and people are complaining because like, I don't really want to do this. I just want to use a freaking REST API. That pressure that so many people who love events, like I think you and I do, of like, okay, now I'm on the spot. Now I got to make this happen, or people are just going to switch back to REST. Hopefully now that sort of lifts.
Streamlines it. So as long as it's well documented, like if it's as long as it's captured correctly in the event portal, that like it's kind of like, this is the deployment path. It's like this app is going to go there, and you can just push a button and it just gets automatically deployed, right? So
I mean, it's pretty slick. And I was talking to someone yesterday, and it feels like magic. Like both the thing that you created to create the code stub, that feels like magic. And then the deployment process feels like magic too. Like, oh, I just have what I need right when I need it, without sort of doing a whole lot of effort. Like I define the interface once, and then off to the races.
Is that using our Terraform provider to like do that deployment, or like is that it? Okay,
100%.
okay. Yep. Under the covers. Okay, very cool. Conscious of the time here, I'm not terribly unhappy that we're running a bit late. We have so many questions. There's still quite a few more. I don't know if we can get to all of them. Let me just throw this one up really quickly. The async API, which you can have as JSON or YAML with download from the YAML portal. Will you be able to import it in Mule Exchange? Well, I'm not a Mule Exchange person. Jesse, are you a Mule Exchange person? That's
I know enough about MuleSoft Exchange because this is a question that we get a lot. There is an API marketplace, essentially. It's beyond that even. It's sort of a marketplace of all things Mule that exists called MuleSoft Exchange. And in an ideal world, we would have the integration go from Event Portal to Exchange and then down to Anypoint Studio. The support of async API in Exchange right now is back at 2.0. Event Portal is at 2.76. Don't quote me on that. And it doesn't support the Solace binding. A lot of the magic happens with async API Solace binding. So know that we understand that that's the Mule way of working. We want to work in the Mule way of working. We can't right now, but stay tuned.
Coming soon, shall we say? Maybe.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Any other questions here? Oh, here's an interesting. We just had our Solace Singapore user group on Tuesday, just a couple days ago, and I did my partition queues demo. So here I have a question. Can you explain how queue partitions works in MuleFlow? MuleFlow can run multiple threads on a Solace queue listener. So as a non-Mule developer person, I can't answer this, but it's possible. If you can have multiple connections, multiple threads going into a Solace queue, if it's a partition queue, you should be able to multi-thread, multi-stream from that partition queue into Solace. Don't quote me on that. It may work. If you can be multi-threaded, that should be fine. Obviously, the publisher of the data going into that queue needs to be keyed. Solace partition queues need a key to determine which partition to land that message on. So, I'm not sure. If any Mule people are out there, feel free to chime in. Or again, come find us on Solace Community, solace.community, and ask us there. Thanks to everybody in the background there for lots of chats on the backend exchange. Tamimi, Giri, Mark, all of our colleagues from the CTO office at Solace. Thanks for answering all the questions. And thank you for tuning in, Jesse. All right, I think we're good, man. It's quarter after. It's been an hour and 15. I feel actually I learned a few things, so I'm happy to have had you here. Any final words before we send this off?
I'm looking forward to some iced coffee. I hope you enjoy your weekend and stay in touch. Again, if you want to get hands-on with this, particularly, you can reach out to me directly, actually, jesse.menning@solace.com. We're currently in closed beta, but we're interested in people who want to test drive it. As a closed beta, we've got some things that we want to understand better about how Mule people would prefer to have this set up. So if you're open to that, reach out to me, and I'd love to talk further.
I'm just making a banner for you, Jesse, with your email address.
There we go.
And now it's live. It's everybody email Jesse if you wanna see this thing. He is Mr. Integrations right now at Solace. So you can hear all about the cool things that we're building for all of our different integrations, iPasses, and all sorts of stuff. So Jesse, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for tuning in, for watching the whole thing. Thank you for all the questions. I've been doing this office hours for many years. And I think this has probably been the most chatty out of all of them. So good on you, Jesse, for the interesting
you got dressed
topic.
up. We nailed it.
You're wearing a collar and everything. It's about a quarter after midnight. I'm gonna go have a beer and go to bed. That's my plan for now. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, everybody, and hope to see you next month, end of April. I don't know what my topic will be yet. I'm sure my boss will tell me at some point soon. But thanks again, and come find us on Solace Community. Thanks, Jesse. We'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye.